Hello and welcome to a very special episode on the akhi&saltfish digital network. You're joined by me, Kavan, and you can see the back of my head right now, but you can see this wonderful crowd I got with me. This is a live roundtable discussing sickle cell for Black History Month, and I'm going to time mark it 2024. What a moment, what a time, and what great company to be in. Look, before we hit record, there was some lively energy in the room. So I tell you what, I just want to go around this room. Please introduce yourself, let the people know why you're here, and let's get started. So, I'll start with you.
Come on.
Good evening. Good evening. I am a former carer of a Sickle Cell Warrior, which was my mother, who passed in March this year. So I'm here to contribute my experience of growing with her and being with her right up until her last. Yeah. I'm also a sickle cell trait. My name is Kamara James.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Memory Mwanza. I'm one of the parents. I've got 2 children with sickle cell. I've had bad experiences, especially with the first child, who at some point had to be resuscitated. And yeah, I am.
Hi everyone, I'm Gifty. I work at West Northamptonshire Council as a project manager. I'm here because I think it's a big topic of interest within our community. I had a very close friend growing up that had sickle cell, and it was awful to see what she would often go through. So I think it's a good conversation to have.
Hello, I'm Marcia Walker, and I've been working in education for a long time, retired. And I came into working with Norma Watson in 1975 around sickle cell as I was teaching in a boys' school, and that's when I found young people in crisis. So that's how long ago that I came into. I think Norma was one of the first people to actually, she was a nurse, and she was very interested in it. And she used to counsel the family and the young people that I worked with.
Hi, I'm Dominic Carrington. I'm one of the senior lecturers in law at the University of Northampton, and I'm here to, support this important work on sickle cell. I've had experiences in the legal world of sickle cell, where people have not been able to get adequate treatment and leading legal actions against authorities where someone unfortunately died as a result of sickle cell. So I'm here to share my experiences and also to hear the experiences of others as well.
Hi, and my name is Yaba Kujo. I'm a sickle cell warrior. I've got sickle cell SS. I'm almost 50. So I've lived to sort of cancel the stigmatization of what they ask you when you have sickle cell, how old you are. I'm a positive person, even though with my crisis, and I'm here to share my experience. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am Catherine James Oliver. My sister, Yvonne, she was a sickle cell warrior. So I'm here because I am a former carer, and it's a bit emotional because Yvonne passed recently. So there's a lot of lessons learned. She was a very positive person, very practical person, and a lot of lessons have been learned just by supporting her and being around in her life. So I just want to be a part of this discussion today.
Hi, Christine Collymore, a senior lecturer here at the university, focusing on health and social care. And for me, it's very much about understanding sickle cell. Although I've been around in the community for donkey's years, and again, knew Norma Watson as well. I think for me, the focus of being here is really to get that information to be able to pass on to students. So it's about raising awareness.
Hi everybody, I'm Florence Mpofo Enim. I mean, I took a pause when you spoke about your sister, and and the reason I feel that way is because I've got a son who's 16, living with sickle cell disease, and the journey's been hard, but it gets harder by the day when we hear the news of the deaths, of the unnecessary deaths, so to speak, and the challenges that we're facing in 2024 with sickle cell disease, which was discovered years and years back. So that's what's pushing me to be a part of this conversation, because I want to change this narrative, and I want to take it to as far as it can be taken. Sorry, I'm getting emotional already. But yeah, I mean, and I'm really glad that I have your support, because it's a journey that I can't do on my own, but our voices are stronger together.
Definitely.
Hi, my name is Gabriella Van Beek, and I'm the operations manager for Health Watch North and West Northamptonshire. And I think, first of all, I'm here just to kind of learn more, increase my knowledge and sort of awareness around the topic. And then also sort of from a Health Watch perspective, I think just trying to also do what we can to support increasing the awareness and trying to sort of raise the voices to try and get more services and just more opportunities locally. So hopefully, just try and be part of the change.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Rahim, project manager for Living Well with Sickle Cell project at Northamptonshire Carers. I'm also a parent carer. I'm a mother of a little 3-year-old beautiful girl who's living with sickle cell disease. I've been leading the project for 18 months now, and it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to do so, to raise awareness and to help and support the community the best way we can, but also for my own selfish needs to meet so many incredible people in the community and learn so much. So I'm here to talk about what we do for the Living Well with the Sickle Cell Project, and also learn.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your introductions. It's been great to hear from you, and I will pass on to you in a second, but don't worry, I'll let you settle in first. It's amazing to hear some of the personal reasons, all of the personal reasons, really, why you're all here, to see the legacy that family members have left, and you guys continuing that journey. Morsia, 1975 is a date that's stuck in my brain now. And to hear that level of legacy you're leaving, continuing to leave in Northamptonshire, should be commended, and all of you should be commended for being here. I want to pass it on to you now to introduce yourself. I know you just got here, but thanks for coming, being a part of the energy. So, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda Joseph. I live with Sickle Cell, but I'm also a nurse, an advocate, and everything. My passion is to empower people to live well with sickle cell. I've gone through the journey of living with sickle cell, but university, motherhood, being a wife, juggling, studying, and everything else, but also making that impact so that others can have that voice and advocate and just build awareness amongst the healthcare professionals, coming from London, where it's very much known and everything, and then moving to Northamptonshire 5 years ago and being stuck with not having the level of care that I am accustomed to in London. When I did the first YouTube for Kettering General in 2020 for just a random sickle cell awareness day, because it impacted on me getting care there as a patient, but also as a member of staff, as a healthcare professional. I was mind blown that the level of education, the level of compassion and passion for patients that's going through the front door of an emergency department or healthcare, it blew my mind that in this the years 2000, that the care has been so substandard and so hit and miss countrywide. So I go around the country talking about sickle, my journey, and how healthcare professionals can do better, but also our Black and Asian and just the wider population can understand sickle and be better for those people. You wouldn't treat a patient who's lost their leg any different than someone with sickle. And that's my whole point. Why isn't there that consistency? So I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invite. And, you know, I'm willing to share anything.
Thank you. And one of the key themes from everyone's introduction really was that passion to raise awareness. And I want to tick that box right away. I want to make sure that our audience leave this with a solid foundation of what sickle cell is medically. So can you start that conversation off for us, Amanda?
Sure.
What is sickle cell?
So sickle cell disease, the condition, I don't really like calling it a disease because you don't really catch it. You're born with it. It's hereditary. So both parents have to have the genetic makeup, not necessarily the disease, but the genetic makeup. And it's part of a group of a medical condition called hemoglobinopathies. And if you can say that in one breath, you've hit the nail on the head. So hemoglobinopathies consist of G6PD, thalassemia, and the group of thalassemia, and then sickle cell. So it predominantly affects African and Black Afro-Caribbean heritage people, but there are also a population of the Mediterranean, South Asian, Asians, you know, and Caucasians that aren't genetically predisposed as a Black person then, where their predominant genetics is African or African Caribbean. So that in itself is what the condition, it's a broad spectrum. It is a blood disorder, and it affects the red blood cells, predominantly the red blood cells, where the red cells, so your normal red cells last up, so a healthy red cell, I should say, not normal, but a healthy red cell lasts up to 120 days, whereas with the sickle cell patient, it lasts up to probably 20 days in the body. It's multi-organ affected, so your eyes, your liver, your kidneys, your skin, your heart, your everything, because blood, your liquid organ, goes through your body. So not only is it a physical condition, but it's a holistic condition, because it not only affects you, the person living with the condition, but your loved ones, your carers, your job, your finances, your mental health, your mindset. It's a very lonely condition, because within Living Well with Sickle Cell, we realized there weren't very many people open in our communities to discuss sickle cell and to one, raise this awareness, but also the myths around sickle cell. It's probably African, so there's a bit of myth around being, you know, demonic, and you're born with a spirit, and you're born faulty. In the Caribbean, you'll think that you're faulty, and stuff like that. And for me, living with sickle cell and being a healthcare professional, I've kind of dispelled about 80% of those myths. So it really is about what the condition entails. Yes, it's a medical condition. Yes, it's hereditary, but it also is multifaceted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the technical side. On the practical side, it's actually trying to convince the community. And I think that's the start of six. I think you just touched on it, that awareness raising, so people can be honest with themselves. Mm-hmm. I think that's the beginning. But I have to say that, as faith has it, I attended a funeral one day, and a young man, well, he's older, came up to me and just said, "Marcia, what are we doing about sickle cell?" And that very day, I had come from one event, I'd come from the funeral, gone to an event, and was going to Wellingborough, to the carers group. And that's what I wanted to interject at this point, to the carers group. And I just said to him, "Funny that you should say that. I'm going to the carers group." Now, I was trying to work out why, at a funeral, a young man who you know, it's a big family, would suddenly be asking that question. And it came to me that somebody's in crisis, something is happening out there. They didn't know what to do. And I just said, "I'm going to a meeting." And I told you the story of what happened. And from the carers group, one of the things that has come out that we need to put into the melting pot is a course that you put together, volunteering some of your time, you know, doctor and nurse and everybody volunteering their time, nobody paid. There's no, now, yes, but no money running around there saying, here we are, there's £1,000, £5,000, off you go. Everything was on a voluntary basis, and sometimes that's a good place to start because it focuses the mind. But what I did enjoy was in the name of Norma Watson, a course was put together. A course was put together. And what I think was excellent, I was sitting there, invited myself to a wedding, where a young lady, aged 27, 25, 27, said that was the first time she had met in her life other sickle cell sufferers, and she had it. And the way her future husband found out, she collapsed. She went into a crisis, and they opened her bag and found his card. He didn't even know. He didn't know. And they were due to get married, and he did the course. Yes? He did the course himself. As a white gentleman, he took the course with her, and the information giving gave some of that information in a light touch version for the participants, but also gave strategies. And I must hold that organization up in their voluntary role for the work that they did. And only last week I went to an event, not marvelously attended, but where 2 or 3 are gathered, the message can still be shared. And one school in Northampton has a lady who's going around and observing and watching. She's not a nurse, but she's the one that the young people can go to. And I've been battling to get it as a topic in blood, because science deals with blood. So it's a gentle battle. It will be one. It may not be one in my time, but it will be one because people will always be looking for new things. Sorry to go on about it, but they'll be looking for new things to put in the curriculum to make it more attractive and more challenging, and that will be it.
This is why, so can I just come and I think this is why empowerment is really important. It is so important for us to empower, first of all, empower the warriors from when they can talk. Let them know that, yes, you've got sickle cell disease. Yes, it's incurable, but you're my child first before you're sickle cell. And you're fearfully and wonderfully made before you've got sickle cell. And even with sickle cell, your dreams are valid, and we're here to support you attain your dreams. So when that young person growing up to say, okay, I'm not different in that way. I'm only different because I need to wear 2 or 3 layers. I mean, I can't quite jump in the water or play in the rain. But in my good days, I have awesome days. And let's celebrate their good days, and the bad days, we also help them through. And why is empowerment important? Because when they feel empowered, they will not feel like failures. They will not feel like they're weaklings. And once the children or the sufferers or warriors are empowered, we then empower the community, the schools, the parents, the aunties, the relatives, because they need to understand how to look after these people. And when we go to school, we say, okay, I'm presenting my child. His name is Nathan, he's got sickle cell, and this is what I want you to do, because his dreams are valid. We need to give him an opportunity to attain and achieve their dreams. And then when the parents are empowered, when the child is admitted in hospital, they will say, excuse me, doctor, paracetamol, I've given him paracetamol. Ibuprofen, he's had some. I'm here, not because I enjoy being in the ward, because we've been told to go home before. No, I'm here because my child needs it. And when we check in, please give him morphine, please give him fluids. And when they tell you to go home, you say, no, he's not ready, because we're empowered to say, this is what works for them. But then when we feel that we've got the network and support, we will be able to hold each other up, and we'll be able to see that these people are able to achieve their dreams, and their dreams also, the resilience will be created upon this, will actually empower them to breed success. And I'm talking about resilience, sorry, I'll drop the mic 1 second. I'm talking about resilience because I've got a child who goes through crisis, but they were able to attain high grades in GCSEs because they know when I'm not well, I'm going to have to work super hard because I'm also much investing in the time because I'm not going to be able to be in school every day. So when I'm not well, I can draw back on the time. Now, if we inculcate that in their brains, they'll be able to know that I'm going to have to work extra hard because my days will not always be rosy. However, if I'm going to school on crutches, it's not because I'm a weakling, it's because whatever my body's battling, your body can't do. And the results I'm showing, despite all this, I am a warrior. So empowerment is really important from that get-go, so that they don't feel like it's an embarrassing thing to say that I've got this. But if we parents are embarrassed, we're setting our children up to failure. So we really need to make sure that we carry that, like, do you know what? What you're doing, you're inspiring me. If you can take morphine and go to school and get an A, why can't I just get up and go to work? Why is life that hard? So empowerment is really important, a message that I always try to shout out about.
I was going to say, even doing this, I still go, so the Sickle Cell Society, they go around communities, regardless of race or whatever, doing a lot of work in terms of raising awareness. And one of the things they did a few years back, they actually did barbershops. So they went into barbershops in Peckham and those areas and actually spoke to men about it. So I flipped it, and I am starting to go to churches, because in the Christian community, in the church community, in religious communities, being unwell is like taboo, or it's not really talked about. So last year, I presented at a very big denominational church women's conference. And in that audience, there were several women or parents of young girls and early adult women who are either pregnant or wanting to have children. And by me doing these awareness, and I go around the country and I do these things, it then it demystifies it, but it also empowers, it also breaks those barriers to have those conversations about fertility, miscarriage, careers, education, as Florence was saying, a lot of those things, because, and I've met a woman quite recently, a mum, she had her children, and one of the boys were feeling unwell, and he presented to A&E, he presented to the GP, presented to A&E, and they asked to do a sickle screen. And the mum came to me, I was at work, and she said, I don't want my children to have sickle, because this and that and the other. And it wasn't really the nicest conversation. And I stopped her. She didn't know me from Adam. And I stopped her and I said, by the way, I live with sickle cell. And the first thing she said to me after that was, you don't look like it. So now tell me what I should look like. Maybe cachectic, the glowy yellow eyes, the skinniness. I was very skinny back in the day, but children and steroids and everything has, metamorphosized into this beautiful woman. But what I'm trying to say is that we are doing it within our community, and quite rightly, but parents need to be given that extra advocacy. So I am your friend, I will help you, and it passes along. So you pass the torch along without outing that fire, but then everyone teaches one. So I am a healthcare professional. I have been working in teaching hospitals where It's embedded, the system is embedded. And then I come to a country district general hospital where those services aren't embedded. And yes, it's outside of my job description, but guess what? I spoke to my manager. She was like, how can I help you? And I was like, this is what I would like. From a career perspective, from a managerial perspective, explain to her the disease. She's now very well versed, but she's also now given me that empowerment to say, actually, go to this matron and do some training. It's outside of your work remit, but I think we need to educate and empower our colleagues as well. So you don't want to out the torch, and you want to pass it along like the Olympics to the next one and to the next one. And I think when we do that, without fear, without resistance from both parties, you will see the difference, you will get that growth. But we want to start it in Northampton.
Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to say I totally agree with them with the empowerment. So personally, as a sickle cell patient, and even though I'm quite old, that was where I came from. So I had, even though my parents didn't know about what sickle cell was, I felt like they were like, okay, this is sickle cell, let's roll our hands, what we're gonna do. So even though I used to have crises when I was young, and even the waters that, if I have a sickle cell child, I will not let them play in it. I used to play in it. I'll go and play in it, I'll get the crisis, and they will treat me. As I was growing up with my parents, it was never a situation whereby they looked at me differently, or the society that I lived in looked at me differently. It was normally outsiders who go, oh, you have sickle cell, how old are you? But because my parents empowered me, even someone asking me that question didn't feel, I didn't lose sleep over it, because I knew that this is my parents, these are what they're teaching me, my family members, and it's been like that throughout if I'm being honest, when I have a crisis, I don't tell them because I feel they worry now. Yeah. And it's only when I came to, if I'm being honest, it was when I came to this country that I realized the severeness of sickle cell. But growing back in Africa, because of the empowerment my parents gave me when I was that young, I didn't really feel anything.
Yeah. And I think that's the same thing coming from the Caribbean. Yeah. I started my young adult life in the UK, and I became more unwell in the UK than when I was in Trinidad. I did Girl Guides, I did swimming, camping. I loved bathing in the rain. And the only time I bathe in the rain is when I go to the Caribbean now, because obviously the rain is very cold here, but bathing in the rain was something you grew up with, and it was like, okay, you'll dry off and a cup of hot cocoa, and we call cocoa and everything tea in the Caribbean. And that was what you did. But then when you have this life in the UK, you feel like you're wrapped as a pooper in a cotton wool or whatever. But as Florence and Ihab says, you want that normalcy. You want that normalcy. You can be conquerors, but with wisdom, as a sickle cell warrior. And I don't like to use the word sufferer, because personally, I do not suffer. I don't suffer. I go through and I come through. I have a fight. Yes, we have to fight because of the inequalities of health. But suffering is, you don't say a cystic fibrosis sufferer. You don't say a cancer sufferer. So, yeah, thank you.
Can I just...
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. Go on.
Just stealing this away from you.
That's all right.
No, it's amazing to hear about the awareness that's been building amongst each of you, and that knowledge that you're building amongst actual sickle cell warriors. Just one part of the conversation that I, just in my experience and what I've seen in terms of empowerment, and it doesn't matter whatever it is that you are a warrior of, you always say that you know yourself, you understand, your, yes. And so when you're going into these spheres of your hospital and then having that empowerment, it's then knowing what you have as your tools. I know that I've got this from Amanda from the past of things of something about having a passport. Yeah, so your passport. So in actually using these things, so it's not just, it's very important that this awareness is built, and that there's that confidence in you know, I need to speak to this person to say I have sickle cell, but when it really matters, to use these tools and keep using them. So you may go into hospital and it's not something that, you know, is recognized. It may be, you may have a different experience. Yeah, I think Yavs was telling us about her experience that's changed earlier, which I'm sure will come up again. But it's that building and bringing that empowerment into, you know, these medical spheres, these platforms in those times of absolute need as well, that continue to empower you, you know, as warriors and as a community.
Yeah, just to add to that, I have to make notes because I as you know, when things come to mind. But people with sickle cell can live well with sickle cell, you know. And one of the things that I have to say is that, yes, we have the medical model, but I'm an advocate of the social model of care as well. You know what I mean? Because sickle cell it's something, it's a condition that you live with. And if you get the right support, the right care at the right time, it doesn't interrupt your life. Okay, it's you walk alongside, you're walking alongside it and you live well with it. The empowerment is very important for children. I think there is a conversation that needs to be had with schools. You've already said about it, Mosia. There's a conversation to be had with schools where we talk about having the right care and support at school, but the children themselves to know about when to ask for help and know how to, and to be confident in that. And so it is with universities. We're here at this lovely university. It's kind of making me want to come back. But, you know, it is important that you know that sickle cell doesn't have to disrupt your life. You can live well with sickle cell. That's all I'll say at this point.
Can I just add quickly on that? Sorry, 1 second. When you said understanding your body, when the children and the warriors and all of us understand the triggers, because it's the triggers that cause the crisis. If you understand what your triggers are, and our triggers could be different. If we know that, you know, not drinking enough will cause you trigger, you know, the children when they're growing up, it's really hard to pin a teenager down by saying, okay, when you feel tired, stop playing that football. However, if you continue, you're going to be in hospital for 7 days. You will not play football for the next 7 days. Options, it's your choice. Yeah. And when we understand our triggers, then we can share these triggers with the school. Make sure when it's school, they don't go out to play. And even as adults, you know, exertion, we need to listen to our body and make sure that the triggers do not send us to crisis. Because if we can avoid the triggers, we can actually live well with sickle cell and use that time to chase our dreams and our visions and our ambitions and aspirations.
Yeah. Rochelle will probably be able to say more about the course, you know, that we have put on, but a course for people living with sickle cell is absolutely fantastic to help people to understand how the body works. You know, our community who have diabetes, there's courses that are put on for people who have diabetes, just to help people to be more empowered and understand how to live well and make informed decisions. And we have done that from our little charity status, which Rochelle, will talk about. But this may be something that our health professionals and our local ICB could probably look into in terms of having a course for people who have got sickle cell trait or who have sickle cell. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on everything that you're saying, but maybe take it down a dark tunnel, because I'm going to take it there. Because I think absolutely, and as you all know, for how much I've shared my own experience with my own 3-year-old, you know, she is going swimming. She's going to wear 3 swimming costumes, you know, she's doing everything, you know, and I've been empowered by listening to other parents. I mean, you haven't even touched on the amazing stuff that you have allowed Nathan, not allowed, but encouraged him to do, despite his condition, his racing, and he's an award-winning child. He's amazing. And I mean, we're absolutely right in terms of parents needing to communicate. We hosted the Parents' Evening a couple of weeks ago, and for me, one of the most profound things that we found was hearing from this operations manager from a local school who was saying that she was getting care plans from the healthcare, from the children's nurse, identifying some of her children within the school living with sickle cell, but not ever hearing from the parent, and then having to contact the parent to say, in a delicate way, I understand your child's condition, just wanted to let you know that these are the kind of things we can do to support. And what she was saying is that she found it very shocking and saddening that she had limited communication from parents. She was reaching out to say, how can I help your child? And I think what we've got to address here today is that learned helplessness. Because fundamentally, I think we're a room full of incredibly positive, empowered people, but there is a huge community who have felt like nobody cares, no one is listening. There is no point in me reaching out and speaking to the school. There is no point in me trying to empower my child because they're going to go out there and receive a poor service anyway. And changes need to come. And I think, from our own experience, from living well with sickle cell, working with the community, I consistently get the same people engaging with the project. There are 300 plus patients who are living within Northamptonshire with this condition that we know of. However, we repeatedly get the same 30 people engaging with the service because there is this learned helplessness. There is this disconnect, and yeah.
Sorry to interject. Combination of that and the taboo attached to sickle cell. I think somebody mentioned, I know a family whose children got this, and they're maybe 6 or 8, and I feel so sad for that child because the parents do not want to accept that this is a condition that their children lives with, and it's incurable. They don't want to talk about it. There's that taboo that let's not go there. So that's a really sad place, because even if you want to help, like if the school reaches out to the parent will just close it down. They don't want to talk about it. How do we get there? How do we empower them to feel like, for this child to succeed, I need to help them succeed. I have to come to the place of acceptance so I can help them move forward with life. So that's empowerment that needs to start, and then continued with the one that of what you're saying, where you have to engage. Our voices are louder and stronger together. If we hear from the same voices, change won't come. But if we all rise up with our voices and say, this is not right, this is not equitable, this is not asking for equitable care, we're not asking for more or less, just treat us the same as you're treating every other disability, that's all we're asking for.
And I think that's what I said at the beginning, it's lovely having the technical side, but actually that the role of parents, carers, grandma, because remember, a lot of children are being looked after, they become the carers from the time children are born because they can't afford care and all the rest of it. So there's a whole range of people out there in the family circle to start with that absolutely need targeting, because you were fortunate, but I know that in 1975 I nearly cried for a child who the school was going to try and help, because I'd come to them and said, this child is suffering, and the school's going to help, and their parents are like, but Mrs. Walker, we don't want any of our children because they're going to label them and then they won't be able to do this, that, and that with them. And in church, they said this the other day, so we have to know that prayer is a powerful thing. So I immediately said, God help those who help themselves. He's taught us to pray, So there is still in the background, we're fortunate, we've got somebody's there, but cultural issues are really, I hate it.
I just wanted to come in. There's so many things that have been pointed that I should have come in at some point. She spoke about the training that happened, and a lady didn't know, the husband-to-be didn't know. I remember the person. And then she talked about other things. And I know everyone is coming with empowerment and all that, but I want to go with the awareness part of it. So I was born in Africa, grew up in Africa. Africa, and I've seen so many, people, like, we want them to say, that family, we had a family of, I think, 7 children, and I think one person didn't have sickle cell. All of them, it was that they had carriers, and for them was like severe. So I didn't know anything about in my family. So coming to meet my husband, we didn't know anything. So we didn't even think about testing. I've written a book, and this is what I'm like, I'm making aware of people that are coming into, love, that they need to test before they actually get dipped into. I met my husband, we came here, and having children, the first child, I didn't know anything that I had sickle cell. And them days, I think they're still doing now, they encourage us to test in, what's the thing they test in while you're pregnant? I'm not, that word, I'm not, whatever. So they at first they said, we need to test you, do you know your status? I didn't know. So they tested me, and then obviously it came out as I'm a carrier. They had to test my husband. So he came, we are both, and then we are offered now to test the child. I said to them, whatever happens, this is a gift from God. I am not going to do anything with it. So whatever comes, God does not give you beyond what you can bear. God will see me through. So I had the child, and then he came 7 weeks early. I had pre-eclampsia and all that. But then we had a doctor, he's in the, I think, Middle East now. He did say to us, there will be signs, but the signs will start from 6 months. But literally, we didn't know this will come 6 months on top. So my son's first crisis came. We didn't know what to do. Yes, we knew it was a sickle cell, he had SS, by the way. And he started just crying. During the day, I was playing with him, bouncing and all that. 6 months baby, I would wake up in the night, feeding him. But that night, he started crying. I didn't know anything, but calling the doctors on the phone, they could hear his breathing. He was kind of dwindling. They could have said, stop there, because I was not driving. They could have said, call for the ambulance, and the ambulance come. Going to the out of hours, Clifton Vale, we found a doctor actually in the cubicle outside in the reception. He heard the voice of my child. Surely he could have stopped and said, this is an emergency. We waited in the waiting area. At that point, all I knew is sickle cell. I didn't even know anything about the spleen or anything. Within minutes of getting there, I had the child in my hand. I will be strong, I would not cry. I had the child in my hand, and my strength was going. My husband took the child from me, and then all of a sudden he comes and faces me and says, memory is gone. I don't know how, I will not cry. I moved all the way to the corridors, running, opening the doors and shouting in that Cliftonville out of hours. They started resuscitating this small thing with 2 fingers. You know how difficult that is. I said, no, this is not going to happen, because previously I had 3 miscarriages. So for me, God has given me this child. The devil will not take from me. But you see, because of awareness, no one knew what was happening. I didn't know. If I was, that's when they tested me, and they told me these are the kind of things that will happen. When you get a child, the spleen will be, these are the signs that will start happening. So look out for these. So we didn't have that. All we knew was at 6 months, it will start. Anyway, in that room, I was talking to God. My husband was crying because of faith. Obviously, where I come from. And in the end, it took time, but it came around. And, they took us to now A&E. I didn't know that I had to go straight to A&E. We went to out of hours. And the person I spoke to said, go to out of hours. If he said go to A&E, I'm a new mother. I don't know anything. So awareness. When people are having children, what are we telling them, How are we guiding them? Yes, we know that this is now the situation. Both of them have got a child who is, this, what are we doing about it? What information do they know? So if I had known this is the issue with my child, I need to go straight to A&E or go to the open access, which I didn't know at that point, because it wasn't pointed out until we had the crisis. So if they had said from the beginning, if it happens, please straight to Disney, I'd go. But I went to A&E, with everything, he went on bloods and, taking medication like XJED because of iron overload and all that. Now, as a mother, I'm thinking, he suffered, my child suffered, crisis in the I was trained to check for spleen because the spleen will kick in. So I know, because of the experience now, I can check the spleen, how it is and whether, it's going to go further and all that. And, he went on bloods. He had to sometimes go to Birmingham for exchange, but then in the way, he ended up not having it because the condition has worsened. As a mother seeing that, it's upsetting and it's really, but for me, it's the awareness. And also to talk about, because he went on bloods after that, due to the crisis he used to have, loss of chest crisis and the spleen, he needed blood. So for me, it's the awareness of why importance of blood. And coming from the background of religion that didn't allow blood, I've moved on.
Bless you. Bless you. Yeah.
And at the first time he had blood, that day when they needed a mother with antibodies and all that, but understanding, what blood is and what's contained in that blood, even the paracetamol that we take has a little bit of it. So it's complex, but just the understanding that people needs to come forward, give blood. It's not just for sickle cell patients, but for all these chronic illnesses that needs blood. Anton Nolan, go register. Unfortunately, they couldn't because I've got thalassemia and I've got sickle cell. I'm a carrier. And thankfully, I don't know how God did it, but it gave me a chance. I didn't have it like SS. Even thalassemia, I've got is it the beta or the alpha? I've got the lesser one. So I'm kind of, that level. So my main thing is awareness to the people that are coming in to love, get tested before you have any child, and giving of blood. My story it's a long story, but if anyone would want to I've written a book. So if they want link, I can give a link. At some point, people can read the story of everything that needs to be done, really. And I've seen some changes with the hospitals. Before, now they are going, even sometimes they contact me to speak to mothers that, they're about to have children or they've done the test. Some people, because of that fear, they do terminate the pregnancy because of the testing of the child. If I were the hospital, I think I would give a break to the mothers and let the children be born. This thing of testing in pregnancy just puts pressure on the parent. I think they would just need to leave them alone and test the child when the child comes. It's a lot. It's a lot.
I think too. I just want to respond to two things on that. The first one is amniocentesis.
Yeah.
That I got similar situation. I didn't know I had sickle, and when I got pregnant, they test me. They said I've got traits, and I called my mother. I was like, "Mommy," my mama said, "No, that's not your blood. They got somebody else's wrong." So I called my dad. My dad said, "Yeah, that was me." We went through. I did amniocentesis, and it was in Milton Keynes General. It was actually a dangerous process because the child was sleeping. They put the needle in. The needle went where the head was. The child wasn't moving. It was scary. We had to sign a disclaimer. So when I had the second child, I was like, "Do you know what? Whatever it is, whoever it is, however it is mine. I'm taking him through." And so I refused that. But then, so onto your point, it can be risky. It's not that you're going to discontinue the pregnancy anyway, unless you are. But I was 20 weeks, so there was nothing that I was going to do to stop the pregnancy. As I said, this is a gift from God, and his name is Nathan, gift of God, and he's lived to do wonders. But I think the other point when you're talking about when you've got a young child and you don't know what to do, this is, I think, what brought us all here together was the point that our pediatric staff and adult staff are super under-resourced. I think there comes a point where, as a mother, I want to talk to my nurse, but I can't find her. She's not available because she is working part-time hours, looking after over 20 children. She's got no capacity to pick up that phone call. So I think if there's one thing that we want to advocate is for that the resourcing to be done, because Leicester have got way more capacity than we have. And again, got to the point, all we're asking for equitable care. Equitable care means that we need to have access to our specialist nurse as and when we need them. We need to be able to feel and reach out to say, these are the needs and our needs are met. If there is a gap where CQC said we need to have a specialist nurse and equitable care, we feel like at Northamptonshire or Northampton General, we're left out. We're like the second-hand sister somewhere, not given the same care as Leicester or Kettering, because why should Leicester people receive better care than our children do? Do they not deserve this? Do their lives not matter? Or is because, I don't get it, and that's what we advocate. I mean, we're all struggling because there's no resource. The resource is not adequate, and we've campaigned a lot of times, and we're waiting to see the results, sorry.
So just briefly, I want to try and paint a picture. Rochelle, you mentioned a figure earlier, 300 people in Northamptonshire. So I'm going to guess, what, 50 specialised nurses and doctors?
Guess again.
50? Try again then. Try again.
Down?
So earlier.
As low as the white line
Earlier.
on the road.
10?
Below the white line
Keep
on
going.
the road.
Keep going
What?
down.
Okay, 5?
Before
No,
we started this conversation, didn't we? We talked about where today, within this podcast, where is the presence of the clinical specialist? Of course, we've got the Amanda Joseph. Yes, she is a clinical specialist, but she's not employed at our hospitals.
Because of 16 years of my 23
Yes.
years.
So you're able to. That's
But
what
I'm
you're
not
doing.
being paid by these people
Yeah.
to do what I do daily. I had a phone call last night. Can you help? Sorry.
Yeah.
So there's two,
Yeah.
one adult nurse, one pediatric nurse for the whole county of Northamptonshire.
Yeah.
But they are part-time. The consultants, sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Carry on.
So there are specialist hematologists in the county, but they are not sickle cell specialists. So they are either hemato-oncologists or hematologists with some knowledge, some like what should I say? Not as impassioned as other sickle cell consultants. So yeah. So with fighting, yeah. So Rochelle will do it.
You had a meeting.
Well, so yeah. Well, just to go on with the lack of resource, you're absolutely right. We talked about the lack of presence of clinical specialists from the hospitals locally today here at this podcast, despite we reached out to them and asked them to have a presence. And my response to that was, we have 2 nurses working across 2 sites, Northampton, Kettering, with 300 patients plus, 300 patients that we know about. One of which is working with almost 200 patients and the other 100, spread very thinly. There is a chronic crisis. They are part-time across 2 sites. I mean, even recently, with my own daughter, she had clinic recently. We weren't able to attend, it's been rescheduled, but I was told afterwards that the consultant who usually sits in to her clinic appointments is away, is on long-term sick for 6 to 8 weeks. There is no pediatric replacement. There is no pediatric replacement. So, and there is no one else to fill his boots. So there is a chronic lack of resource, a limited resource within Northamptonshire. And we collectively, everybody in this room have fought for more resource. And thankfully, we're looking at, by January 2025, we'll have a much more robust team looking at 2 band 6s, 1 band 7, 2 support workers underneath. But the thing is about that is, although we're all jumping up and down and excited that we're getting more staff, that number of staff, which works out to be about 5 staff members covering 300 patients.
We know of
is only really kind of meeting the need in terms of resource, but then there will still be work required. So we're talking 300 patients, 5 staff members, of which 2 of those will be support workers, which are essentially sort of admin roles.
This brings hospital avoidance. If my child is sick, he's 16, if he's sick, the last thing he will tell me is I want to go to hospital. He will be home, this crisis will start on Monday, for example, and until he cannot move at all, he will say, let's go. So, and do you know what that causes? Because I'm treating him at home as much as I can, and he doesn't want to go to hospital, because at times when he goes to hospital, he doesn't get the care as he gets at home. Right. I've been in hospital, and he's given less morphine than what I would give at home. I would give at home. I've been in hospital where, I need to sit properly for this. The nurse told me, can you please tell your child who is in crisis to set up his alarm on his phone so he can wake up the nurses to come and give him morphine? I mean, tell me, why would he want to go to hospital? And then he gets told that, oh, you make up to be in more pain than you are. And then we look back and blame whoever's looking after them when they're accidentally there at home because they didn't go to hospital. These are what I call unnecessary deaths, because the care isn't available in the hospital because of under-resource. Sorry.
I just want to go on what you said about, hospitals. I did I'm studying at the University of Northampton, by the way, and I did a research where the issue with stigma in hospitals, where they are labeling and giving names to people, even when they ask for the drugs that they know works well for them, but then they are giving them names. That is upsetting. I've gone in deeper with my dissertation. I want to see what, universities are doing, like, in helping, and how they are coping with the, resilience and coping mechanism they are using, because obviously they've got to attain their grades. So what is it that they are doing, and what is it the universities now are doing to help these people, because it's just too much.
Sorry, there was a few points that were raised, but we're so passionate here, which is wonderful. I just want to backtrack just a little bit. It was talking about, I think, memory, when you mentioned awareness. And knowing, literally the genetics and that being as far as it went, I've just kind of had this idea of there being just an open, maybe an opportunity in terms of growth, in terms of awareness when you're receiving that information. Just same way that if you were told you had any other condition, flyers are given. There was to Sickle Cell Society. My experience with my mother, she shouldn't even have had children, and so I'm just think back my childhood. I'm in awe of the things that she achieved and she did with us as a single mother. But one thing that I did attend with her was a couple of sessions of going to like the Sickle Cell Society where she was before she moved over to this side. The funding was, we were told there wasn't much money. So again, it was the awareness, people within that community that could make it. Rochelle, you kind of alluded to, it's always the same 30 people. So you always had kind of the same numbers coming in because there wasn't much going on. Sometimes people, they had an online presence or a WhatsApp group kind of presence, the same kind of things you guys are doing. But at the moment, maybe things like those flyers should be given out and to these different organisations within the local areas, because I know there's more that are talking up. And I think
like information.
Yes. I'm trying to think now. The DJ Proclaimer, he was talking about one in his local area that they're raising. Oscar, that's it. So there's some that are now trying to build that awareness. So flyers that do things like simple things that GPs, practitioners can do is to give that information out so that you can learn more about these things and so the other.
Sorry, can we go to Christine? I think there's a point around universities raised there.
Yeah, for me, it's very much about knowing that students that we have coming through the system, especially when they're looking at health and social care, it should be, yes, they have to know about working with people and obviously knowing something about conditions and whatever, because we'd like to think that we're actually producing leaders of the future and think about innovative ways of doing things. So even now you're talking about, okay, advertising, raising awareness and whatever, I know the current students are very much into social media. Now me, I must admit, I don't really go there. But again, it's about how do we get those current people, regardless of their age, because obviously there's older people that are really into social media as well, but thinking about the different approaches. And I think probably it's a good opportunity now to get the students to start to think about, one, them becoming aware, but also thinking of different ways of how we can raise that awareness in different ways, because I think it has to be multi-layered. We have to take a multiple approach.
Honestly, I just, really, I hope it's the last time. I'm saddened. I'm going to go into a dark place because do you know the amount of black people who have committed themselves to this work? And actually, they became like unqualified counsellors. I think of people like Mrs. Ivan Bryan. I think of Mike Prescott over in Wellingborough. Mike did work on it. I've just seen a picture in a book where they were doing work, you know, and they offered themselves to go to families. You know, I think Mike went to doctor's surgery and said, you know, if anybody come here, in his Bajan accent, you know, I'm willing to go and speak with them or whatever. It's been a phenomenal amount of quiet, gentle workers. And yes, we've got all that online stuff and things that can happen. But I'd really like to think of us with longevity, yeah? Because this is not new. People have put themselves forward. So Mrs. Bryan was a nurse. She used to work at Princess Marina, things like Mike Prescott. There's a lady who address I have, and she'll be very interested. I'll ask her to look at the podcast. I've got a list of them because they sort of registered with Black History Association. So we had their names and how they felt. I mean, my daughter has got the trait, but she has to be careful with injections and stuff. And she does go into little crisis all the time, but she's managing it. My sister-in-law had it fully blown. We went to school together, never knew. You know, she somehow managed it. She was a strong person. So I'm just trying to say that people have tried, and what we now need to be careful of is that we don't lose the momentum, and that the journey that we're on is a very secure journey, and it is going to be hard work. It is not easy. We've got a group of people. 300, I would want to add at least another 150. Every time you get new students coming to the university, there's a whole new group of people. They're hidden away. People haven't registered. You know, the people with the trait, 2 traits marrying produces, yeah? So whereas I would like to say 300, I would want to say probably 5. You know, and increasing. Because we're getting a lot of overseas students or students coming up from London or whatever, and maybe they come up from London and they're safe and secure, so they're not bothered. They just go back to London for all their treatment, but one day they may not be able to get the doctor. I'll stop there, but it's for us to really gain strength in each other and make sure that the work that this young lady over there is doing, as pregnant as she is, amen, yeah, carries on. We're all doing it, but you're like, you know, and when you go away to have the little one, you know, that we, you get caught.
So I'd like to say, I deal with numbers. So when you said 300, you said 50, I did. So that's 1 to 6. we wouldn't be here if it was 1 to 6. 302 at the moment. That is 150 to 1 part-time. So I don't even, is it part-time?
No, it's about 200.
200, 100 to adult. So I just wanted to say a power, and I'm going to say as it is, because I know it's Black History Month, and for all you guys let me know, it was my uncle who brought Black History Month to the UK. Hey. I'll give you his name if you want to know. So this thing, and I said this thing, I think the first time we had the meeting. This problem we are having, the only reason why we feel it is because sickle cell is painful. If you have a child with autism, and especially you are Black, the stigmatization is the same. So for me personally, what I realized that this thing, and I've said it before, Look, sickle cell was around before autism came about. But look at the autistic society. And so if do not run with this thing, we will not get anywhere. And 20 years, we will find ourselves in the same situation. The only difference why you realize, and the thing is, trust me, if you are on the other, looking at it from, because I have a autistic son, and I said to you when my parents had, when they saw I had sickle cell, said, "Roll your hands." I did exactly the same way. So because of that, I have been able to get my son what he needs at 6. At 2, he wasn't talking. 3, he wasn't talking. 4, he wasn't talking. But within 2 years, because again, the empowerment, the awareness, and me taking it upon myself to do what I need to do as a black person, I have gotten that way whereby the way he talks today, it amazes everyone.
One thing I just want to add on to that, I keep on saying it and I'll say it again. Sickle cell disease is not given the gravitas it requires because of the color it represents. And you're saying we need to take it on. We need to understand what help is there the government puts aside. How many of us here have applied for disability living allowance? Because us black people will say, my child is not disabled. Mine is fully disabled. I'm telling you, I've applied for disability living allowance, applied for personal independent. He got a driving license. I'm not even like, the help is out there. But because we feel we're strong enough to carry this by ourselves, we're not taking the help that's given to us. We need to reach out and make full advantage of what is there for us.
Thank you. So I'm very, very conscious of time, and we made promises to end this by 8 o'clock, and we've got about 20 minutes to go. Dominic, we should be able to hear you from there, so it should be all good. But you mentioned at the start of this your experiences with the legalities on this, so I just want to pick that up and hear some more about that.
Yes, thank you very much. You know, I'm just fascinated by all the stories that I've heard this evening. You know, the empowerment and the knowledge, and obviously being a senior lecturer at the university, knowledge is key. What is disappointing that I've heard, and I alluded to it in my introduction, is the lack of awareness of the medical professions. Because I will tell you, about 20 years ago, I had a case where someone went to a hospital, and I won't say where, etc., but they went to a hospital seeking treatment for sickle cell, and unfortunately passed away. And the issue was because the hospital had never dealt with sickle cell at all, they had no specialists who could treat my client. So the legality is whether the hospital could be sued for negligence, being clear omission to treat the patient. And what's quite sad is it's still happening today. And you mentioned the numbers of the professionals who which is quite sparse, to say the least. So it's still happening today. So this is an example which was 20 years in the making. So it's good that today we come together and we try to raise more awareness, because but it seems like the work needs to be much more greater, and the knowledge needs to be put out, because we're still far behind, unfortunately. So it's quite sad to see that.
In your university, and I'm asking this because I used to do sessions with a university in London that really didn't have a big catchment area of sickle patients, and outer London, I should say. So I am a nurse. I qualified in 2003. I was the last of Project 2000, and I can remember vividly at the University of Hertfordshire, we had a half-an-hour session on hemoglobinopathies. And in that half-an-hour session, we touched 10 minutes on it. So fast forward nearly 20 years later, at the University of Northamptonshire, your nursing, public health, social care students, what is the syllabus for hemoglobinopathies, including sickle cell, being taught? And I'm just saying that because you've asked that question, and we're talking about awareness. Sickle cell was discovered officially in 1415. That is how long this condition is. In the UK, every woman, regardless of race, since 1978, probably later, is tested for sickle cell. They do not test partners because partners aren't often partners. So unless you are married or your partner is willing to test, we test partners. Hence the amniocentesis and the heel prick test at birth for your child. So my question to healthcare professionals or academics, I should say, where there is a health faculty, what level of sickle cell, black cultural illnesses, and I did sociology as part of my nursing, where my bit on sociology at nursing was inequalities in health for Asian people with diabetes. So I am asking University of Northamptonshire, where is one, what is their syllabus? And two, if there isn't that impactful teaching, are we willing to make the change, especially during Black History Month and across their syllabus? And I will challenge University of Northamptonshire to look, to reflect on their teaching and their syllabus, but also look and reflect on what their students, why? Because World Sickle Cell Day, we had 4 students in the room and they knew nothing about sickle cell.
Do you want to answer? Okay. I'm going to start with the last question first. Yes, we're willing to do the changes. I can't speak, obviously, on behalf of the Faculty of Health Education Society. I can only talk about the health and social care, so I can't deal with nursing, because that's quite a big area, and I don't know the curriculum, so I have to put hand on heart and say I don't know. But one thing I can take away is actually ask the questions, because I think for us within the faculty, we're kind of siloed in terms of working. I think we're actually moving towards more cross-working, because we talk about health and social care, don't we, an awful lot, but does it actually work in practice? Another story. So for me, I can say I'll take the responsibility or the ownership of actually going back and talking to the subject leads about, okay, what is on the curriculum? Because as I said, I don't know what's on the nursing, but at least I can do something, and that'd be my contribution.
I just want to, talk about the legality, what you brought about. When my son went, everyone came on to say, you need to sue the hospital and all that. But for me, I don't know, because I think my faith kicked in. I knew at some point I'll be used in some way. Coming into A&E, people with sickle cell have to be around everyone else, So there was a time the MSTN or something, doctors met, and my chance came. I had to meet doctors, like the way we were sitting. We were given chance to tell the experiences that we've had. We put forward like things that we would want to see. And coming into Northampton, I saw now they've put a section for children. So they are listening. So as long as we are talking, they will listen. But then even if there is that section, are they actually people that will be specialized in treating sickle cell patients? If they see a child with sickle cell walks in, will there be someone ready there for them? These are some of the things that we need to be asking. Another thing is about treatment. It's striking that she's taking, she's gone into figures of when sickle cell started and how did they discover it. The question is, when did they discover cancer? When somebody with cancer, they diagnose cancer straight away, there's treatment plans. What are they doing for children with sickle cell? Yes, treatment is expensive. Yes, sickle cell treatment is expensive. I'm grateful to the government, I'm grateful to the hospitals. They've treated my first son. I've got another one with sickle cell, but mine is treated. I'm grateful, and that's a privilege for me. But what about these others? Is it something that they need something from us as people that have benefited, or people around us to contribute? Because if they say, go raise money, we'll do that. But some people don't even know that this thing is treated. It is treated like you can be treated. People don't know anything. Yes, there are criteria that they've brought about, which is, restricting so many things that, you end up not even having the treatment. But why is it they can treat cancer? The pain is pain. It's pain. They're living with it every day. These cancer patients that had it today. Sorry to talk about, but it's a painful thing, and we're talking about, like in developing countries, they can die at a certain time, because of awareness and treatment and all that. So if they can, find a way to also consider sickle cell as something that is, painful and that needs urgent attention, and we can close to all this thing of going back in the figures, I think that would be very helpful.
Can I just say, I mean, I was actually going to follow on from something that you said, Florence, but I think all I would say, and it's not in answer or anything, but having the right support and the right intervention at the right time can make all the difference. And we know that, don't we? But going back to what you said, Florence, and my background is social care, so I'm a trained or qualified social worker, but I'm not practicing at the moment, but I've got the qualification. So everything, I always talk about the social model. I always think about, there's the health, you have to do that, but there's also the social well-being and what you need to be able to manage your day-to-day. So you mentioned about PIP, which is the personal independence payment, and also there's DLA, which is disability living allowance, which if you have sickle cell, you definitely should apply for that. It's a long document. Okay, it's designed that way to put you off, because there's funding that can help you. There's two components, which is a care component and a mobility component, and you can get help with getting about. Okay, you can get help with getting about, and you can also get help with your day-to-day care needs to get up, washed and dressed, and you manage your day-to-day. You've just sent me a note to say that it's not given to everyone. Community law are based in Midland Road. We've got one in Midland Road. I don't know about Northampton, but we've got Hazelwood Road in Northampton, and you've got Midland Road in Wellingborough, and community law will help to fill in the forms with you. So it just takes that pressure off you. You can apply for the form, make your appointment with community law, and they will help to fill in that form with you. Sometimes it's about the language that is used to fill in the form, but they will do that. So don't be put off. And the other thing is, as a carer and caring for somebody, a loved one, your babies, your adult children, anybody, your parent, your carer's leave. There is legislation now which entitles you as a carer to have up to 5 days a year carer's leave, all right? And it's a conversation that you can have with your employers, all right? And the thing about that as well is that sickle cell is recognized now as a disability, okay? So you have rights as caring for somebody who has a disability.
Catherine, thank you so much for that. That was super helpful. We'll hand over to Rochelle. Do you want to tweet? Yeah, very briefly, if possible,
Yeah,
and then
sure.
we'll go into the Q&A.
Get a bit in brief, I think.
Thank you.
I just wanted to touch on what you were saying, Marie, in terms of changes in the hospitals and that need for change. I think that I'm really honoured to share, when I said going down a dark tunnel before, I was saying that it's all well and good, and we need to be empowered and we need to be educated, but we also need to trust the system as well. And that's the biggest issue. I think, like I said, we're a room full of positive, vibrant people who are like, I don't care what's happened, we're going to get up, we're going to move on. But there is a lot of people out there who do feel defeated. And change needs to happen from the system. But I'm so honoured to say on this podcast that there are changes are coming, and we are part of that at North Hampshire Carers. So it all started way back when, this very similar environment at one of our focus groups in North Hampshire Carers, where we had the EMSTM present, and you, Florence, and you remembering it, and you, Amanda, spoke up and gave the feedback to the EMSTN, the East Midlands Sickle Cell and Thalassemia Network, to say, this is not good enough. We presented 10 questions to the EMSTN, who then took it forward to the medical directors at KGH and NGH. That, alongside the amazing work that Amanda has done, alongside the work that we are doing at North Hampshire Carers to raise awareness and support our community, triggered the interest of the CEO, Richard Mitchell, of the 3 hospitals of the Trust, and has sparked a haematology plan, the need to work on a pathway for sickle cell patients. We, Catherine and I, were on a call with the director of, I'm going to get her job title completely wrong because she has about 15 different titles. She's amazing, Titania Chasia, who is absolutely full of fire and passion to make the changes to improve our services here in Northamptonshire. Like I said earlier, part of that plan is to increase the resource, so we do have that. We have the advertisements for the roles, the full-time roles are going out. They plan to add the support workers roles in by the end of this year, beginning of next year. And we're seeing the changes within the pathways. You know, we're seeing the training being taken seriously in the A&E and the general wards as well, which Amanda Joseph has been part of. And from North Hampshire Carers' perspective, our call yesterday was about we want to create what we call a community asset group for those living with sickle cell. And basically what that is a monthly group where we would invite those living with sickle cell and carers, parents and carers of those living with sickle cell, to come to a group within the community. And we're going to rotate it, Northampton, Kettering, Wellingborough, where you would have 2 to 3 hours in a community setting, like what we've been delivering already with Living Well with Sickle Cell, but you have a guaranteed clinical specialist present at that session to speak to us and give us the education and updates and raise awareness, but to educate, give us the information on how to manage and live well with the condition. We want to invite a social worker to have a presence there to give us all of those that help, i.e. what's available to us in terms of benefits, how do we complete a PIP, and all of the support that we do need, because we know that this is a multifaceted condition that affects all of our lives, and also we want to have some sort of well-being focus as well, to look at diet, lifestyle, you know, and having fun, and how to adapt your life to make sure you're living well with this condition. What do we do with our food? I know for me, you know, supplements and herbs and vitamins and water and teas that's part of my water. That's part of that's part of managing the condition, right? And you know, what's the holistic approach to managing this condition, not just the medical focus. And finally, the opportunity to eat some food together and to network. So we are working with NHS, looking at producing something like this on a regular basis. I will say that I feel positive that we are being taken seriously. I really do, and I think it is because of that incredible feedback that sorry, Yabs, I missed you. You also were there giving that amazing feedback. The feedback that we gave, and we came together, and we were solid, and we fought for this, as well as the unfortunate deaths as well. But I think that we're in an amazing time, 2024, an amazing time where we've got the ears and the eyes of those that can actually make changes within the system. So that's what it is.
Thank you. And there was a discussion earlier about 20 years ago and the state of some of the experiences of those in hospitals. And Yabs, you mentioned earlier you had a recent health episode, and it ended quite positively. Yes. So I want to sort of close on that note, if possible. Talk to us about your experience.
The last time before I just recently went to hospital was 3 years ago, and it was horrible. And I actually went for my sickle cell checkup, and I said to Ash, if this is what is happening, I think it was 2020 or something, today, I said, whatever it is I need to do for this service to stop, because I don't go to A&E. Even though I get crisis, I don't go to A&E. I had a severe crisis. I blessed my soul, my friend had never seen me like that, and I asked it, and I got there and they were looking at me like I was mad. I'm like, what? 2020? Hell no, it's not happening. I said, use me, abuse me. And that was why I came for that event that we started throwing on for the what you call it. So 2 weeks ago, I had a crisis, called for the ambulance, 3 hours. But then within the 3 hours, I think about 15 minutes after, I got another phone call. And the lady said, oh, I've heard you've got sickle cell. If you're sickle cell, I need to escalate the call. I can't guarantee you, but I'll do everything I can for them. They came within about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Got to the hospital and they said, there are 9 ambulances in front of you. And they said, the doctor is going to come and see you. So the doctor came, the nurse came, put everything as we were on the ambulance. And I got my painkiller and my eye fluids on the ambulance. So I was there whilst he was going. So by the time I got to the ward, the pain had already gone. I was already okay. So I decided I wanted to go home. Unfortunately, they didn't put the right notes because I had a bit of an infection. So on Friday, just Friday gone, I had another crisis. I called again. Ambulance said it's going to be 2 hours. Unfortunately, I waited 2 hours, they didn't come. So I called again. They said the ambulance will come. So I came. They took me again. Brought the fluids. The doctors came. And it did not take more than 15 minutes for them to come. Came with my painkillers, came with my fluids. They took me, they looked at me and took me in. So they monitored me with the painkillers and everything. And to be honest, they were doing the job. So to be honest, I didn't even feel like I needed to contact any sickle cell nurse. I had an hematologist come and see me. The doctors themselves would see me. They go, okay, we've spoken to the hematologist. They're gonna come and see you. They came to see me, said, okay, you need to be on the fluids if you're on painkillers. They looked after me. So on Sunday, they decided, okay, it's okay. They think I'm okay. I can go home. So on Monday, Asha then called me because I think from her notes, it flagged up I had come to A&E. So she called me. She said, I've seen that you came to A&E. And she said, I'm looking at your records. I wouldn't have discharged you because it looks as if your infection levels are gone. What they did was they decided to give me medication. And I was prepared to say that as long as they wanted to this time around because I realized that I was sick. I needed to get the treatment. But she said, okay, I'll let you take the antibiotics. And then on today, go for a blood test. And depending on the results, we'll see how we take it from there. Which I think was, yeah.
Sorry, can I just say something? I'm listening to your experience, and to a point, there's a point where it kicks in where it's amazing, but there's a massive point that you've said on 2 occasions. You've waited 2 to 3 hours. Now, I know I have to go back because I was trying to make this point, but was so impassioned. I gave up the mic, and I'm not doing it now. I wanted to talk about our attitude because there's this, we talked about stigma and the living well with sickle cell, and I have to say, amongst all these different people that you guys are meeting as a community, I'm honoured to be around you, and I see such a high level of humbleness that comes from you, and it just emits this positivity, which you need, which to get through it, we all need to be that way. But as a culture, as a people, if we don't put our heads down and keep going, everything stops. And trust is mentioned here. So this attitude of going through and just keep going through and just get on with it, that's that attitude that if you stop, then everything stops. You can't. And so we have this built-in behaviour or attitude that we don't lean. So like we're saying, we need to trust the health services. I mean, to a degree, because 3 hours, the older you get, as I've seen with my mother, the more complications you have. And we talk about triggers. They change. I've seen it, I've lived it, and I didn't understand. She didn't understand what she was seeing. I didn't understand what I was seeing. And they don't understand until they take her in, and it needs to be emergency. Now, I've been doing this research recently. I'm sorry, I'm holding the mic. I'm not letting it go. It was the King's Fund, the organisation. So again, this is London-based, and the hospitals, the research they've done is a lot more and it's a lot wider. And of course, I think Amanda even mentioned it. It's different from where she was in London and then come up to your Midlands. But I can't do the 2. I can't.
Let me just say one thing. So when I called the ambulance and I came, and obviously I was in the ambulance waiting, I did ask the ambulance crew. And the thing is, the reason why I didn't throw a fuss is, I don't know. I've worked in the NHS before, and I know how the services work. And the thing is, the second one that came, they came from nowhere near Northamptonshire.
Yeah. So bear in mind, when I pick up the phone call and I call 999, it could be answering in Scotland somewhere. Yeah. So, and they might not understand. But with the service, and I do, the thing is, as much as it is stressful, I do agree with Rochelle. We have, because I could have been, it doesn't work. And the thing is, one of the things I've realized, with crisis, if you get agitated, if you get stressed, what does it do? Of course, I'm not saying that the attitude should change. So I believe that in the Kettering, Northamptonshire bits, they did well. More work needs to be, because funny enough, the ambulance crew did ask me, I've heard of sickle cell. What does it mean? What is it? But this is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So that research showed that if you have respiratory issues, and that combined with other, so cardiology, so your heart. I mean, this was case in point with my mum. She had so many, because of the long-term longevity and the of sickle cell. She first of all, she ticked that box straight away. And then the heart straight away, just without even looking at the complications, further complications. So just from that research alone, I've seen that it's level 3 in terms of critical care that you receive, in terms of urgency, who's seen first. It's number 1. And then it's number 1, then 2. Not 1, it needs to be really, she should be 3, seen by specialists, dealt with and treated in that moment to see and actually then examine, okay, what else is going on here? And things like infections, I think someone mentioned about putting on wards that are mixed with everyone else. That's key. You cannot be on a ward, because then it becomes the infection that's even causing more problems. And your body's already struggling to fight, already from the lack of oxygen and other things. So these are things that, like, the fact that you said 14, 15, from 14, 15, and I must say, I wasn't put on a ward, I was alone. But that's what I'm trying to stipulate is, I'm not saying for the attitude to change, it's that's life and death. 2 to 3 hours, they could have turned up to a corpse. Yeah. That's the severity of what I'm trying to say. Not that it needs to be dealt with aggression or anger, but it's just that, yes, it needs to be an urgency there, and that needs to change, because that could have been a complete different situation. From that point on, it was fantastic, but it took a long time to get there.
It's very true, because that's exactly what happened to my son.
Yeah, I've got to go. Sorry, because grandson awaiteth. Yeah, she's giving me my turn. Thank you, dear heart. Because, oh yeah. Yeah. And as the eldest one in the room, you know what I mean? I expect the African method and the Caribbean method. Thanks very much. It's just a couple of things before I disappear, and I really have to say it's been a most rewarding evening to sit and listen and gain strength. I'm not saying I'm going to move the world, but as somebody that was around in 1975 doing this, it's a joy to hear people speaking. What I am going to say is sometimes in our eye line, we think we're not, I think it's edging on a bit of what you're saying. We read something and you think, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or I can't apply to that. Can I just say, apply? Even if it says children age 11 to 16, still apply. Because, no, I'm telling you, because sometimes when you fill in the form and plead ignorance, somebody will come back to you and say, actually, this grant is not for you. However, may I suggest, I do stuff for Community Foundation, so I know what it's like for somebody to apply to the wrong grant, but for us in our hearts to say, may I suggest that you go for this one or look at this one. And to that end, community law always looking, and they do forward you. They do, and they will sit, and they'll be honest with you at the very beginning. So the one in Northampton is Hazelwood Road, just look them up. And as you say, Midland Road for the one in Wellingborough. And you go for it. You take those challenges, but you are entitled, and even if you're not, it will raise the issue in their eyes. Yes, and that's as much as you can do. And I used to have a manager who used to say, if you do it for one, it will often benefit others. So let us be the leading light, because you get it right for sickle cell, you're going to get it right for something else. And there's nothing more divine than saying, like you're proud to say about Black history, there's nothing greater than saying, oh gosh, that's come because we set that scene and they've actually found a better way to do something. But thank you all very much.
Okay. And again, I have to say it's been great to be here and to listen to everybody and just to see everybody and hear the stories. It's good to hear about it's good to have an understanding of where we're coming from and our position where we are now in terms of what we need to do or what we can do to make it better. And then to hear stories about your experience, Yaba, where you're saying that experience, it sounds like it's an improvement on what it was even just 6 months ago. I would say that I just wanted to make mention that the Mental Capacity Act, when my sister was in a crisis, she didn't want to go into hospital. And that's something that we've heard here. There's no confidence in the hospital or confidence in the care. The Mental Capacity Act is a legal piece of legislation which was used towards my sister. And they said under that Mental Capacity Act that she didn't have mental capacity to determine how she wanted to be treated. She was in a crisis at the time and she couldn't answer the questions. I was there, so I knew that that wasn't the way to conduct a mental capacity assessment. She was in her right mind, she was having a crisis, if she had the right treatment, which was oxygen actually, and painkillers, she would have been able to just recover. So I only say that to say we really do need peer support groups like this and information like this. And we do need to share the knowledge that we have about the legal aspects, about our personal experiences, and also to help to lobby to the right bodies like the ICB board, the integrated care boards, to make things better. We do have to support each other so that we don't stop. You know, we have to keep the fire burning because we want to get the right support at the right time so that people can just get on and live their right life. Amen.
Thank you. And please, round of applause for you all, honestly. Okay, so part of my role as the host here is to close this out, and honestly, I have no idea where to start. The level of density, you guys were so generous with all the information you gave and the experiences, and I'll give you an idea of what we hope to get out of this, and I'll check it as we go off, right? So we hope to get an understanding of sickle cell. We got that for sure. We hope to capture some of the lived experiences of those caring and living with sickle cell. Check. The role of institutions and advocacy. Check. Addressing challenges and looking forward. Check. And we wanted a bit of audience interaction. You guys, that interaction was incredible. Check. So, thank you. Thank you all. And one thing you mentioned was around blood. Blood was mentioned.
Yeah, blood donation.
Is there a call for blood donations?
Yes.
Yeah. So I need to. If there is, yes.
NHS and blood transplants.
Brilliant. I'll put that and your book in
the
the description, and I'll make sure that people can follow up on all the things you've mentioned. That we can put it in the description. People can follow up on it. Any organisation who's been present here today and they want to be contacted, I'll make sure their details are also in the description. Wow. Thank you all. And I have to call out the obvious. There's women around this table.
Yeah.
So thank you for all you're doing for the community. It's a common theme in all these podcasts that we speak to women and the power that women bring. So keep living in that power. Thank you. We wanted authenticity and we got 1 hour, 37 minutes of it. So thank you very much.